Britain in the 1970s was a place of brown carpets, clanking milk bottles, and streets filled with the sounds of children until dusk. It was a slower country, shaped by post-war habits, 3 television channels, and parents who trusted the world more than we do today. Boys roamed freely, knees scraped, pockets full of nothing important. There were no phones, no constant supervision, only time and imagination. Childhood felt longer then, stretched across summer holidays and endless afternoons. Today's childhood is safer, louder, and endlessly documented, but something quieter has been lost. These memories linger because they were shared, not recorded. They lived in streets, schoolyards, and living rooms across Britain. In this video, we are rewinding to a very specific boyhood, rooted in a changing nation and simple routines. What follows are 10 memories that defined growing up male in Britain during that decade. 10 moments that shaped character, friendships, and resilience. If you lived it, you will feel it again. If you didn't, you may finally understand why it still matters. They remind us how ordinary days quietly became extraordinary, leaving echoes of laughter, discipline, and belonging that still surface whenever the past is gently mentioned today again. Number 1. Action Man and the power of imagination. Every British boy remembers owning, borrowing, or desperately wanting an Action Man. He stood proudly on bedroom shelves, gripping plastic weapons, his flocked hair slowly wearing thin. Action Man was not just a toy, but a companion for solitary adventures. He survived garden battles, muddy trenches, and daring rescues among rose bushes. Uniforms were swapped, boots went missing, and scars appeared from real play. Unlike today's figures, he felt solid and serious, built for imagination rather than display. Boys projected courage onto him, learning ideas of bravery and leadership through play. When friends visited, he became a shared hero. Passed between hands without care. Action Man mattered because he demanded stories. He encouraged boys to create worlds, not consume them, and that freedom stayed with them long after childhood ended. Many kept him hidden under beds, guarding secrets and dreams. Number 2. Street football until the streetlights came on. Street football defined afternoons before homework and tea. Jumpers became goalposts, coats marked touchlines, and arguments settled themselves. The ball was usually scuffed, heavy with rain, and unpredictable. Games lasted until light faded or a mother shouted names from doorways. No referees existed, only shouted rules and grudging acceptance. Skills were learned through repetition, bruises, and pride. Winning mattered, but belonging mattered more. Every street had a strongest kicker and a boy trusted to own the ball. When windows broke, apologies followed, not lawsuits. These matches taught cooperation, toughness, and negotiation. They mattered because they were free, unstructured, and deeply social. Boys learned their place, their limits, and their friends through every muddy, glorious kick. Even decades later, the echo of leather striking pavement instantly returns boys to those evenings, breathless, muddy, and entirely alive on familiar streets again together. Number 3. Saturday morning television rituals. Saturday morning television felt like a weekly ritual, guarded fiercely by children everywhere. Boys woke early, padded downstairs, and watched cartoons in pajamas while houses stayed silent. Shows ended abruptly at lunchtime, reminding everyone television was limited. Theme tunes lodged in memory, hummed in playgrounds all week. Commercial breaks sold toys already loved, deepening desire. Watching together or alone, it felt personal and earned. There was anticipation rather than overload. Missing an episode meant waiting patiently for repeats. This mattered because it taught patience and shared culture. Everyone saw the same things, laughed at the same moments, and discussed them face to face. Television united boys through scarcity, not endless choice. Parents rarely watched, making it feel like a private world belonging entirely to children, where imagination warmed cold mornings and routines formed quietly before school, chores, and obligations arrived. Number 4. The corner sweet shop and penny choices. The corner sweet shop was a place of wonder, temptation, and careful counting. Boys entered clutching coins, calculating choices with serious faces. Glass jars held cola bottles, sherbet fountains, and licorice laces. The smell of sugar mixed with dust and old wood. Shopkeepers watched patiently as decisions dragged on. Penny sweets rewarded restraint and strategy. Sharing bags on the walk home cemented friendships. These shops mattered because they taught independence. Boys handled money, choice, and mild disappointment alone. Treats were occasional, not constant, making them special. Even now, the memory of crinkling paper bags and stained fingers brings a quiet smile. Parents waited outside or sent boys alone, trusting them completely, a small freedom that felt enormous and grown-up at the time. Those moments shaped confidence and self-belief without lectures or supervision from adults hovering nearby ever again. Number 5. Firm school discipline and clear boundaries. School discipline in the 1970s was firm, predictable, and rarely questioned. Boys lined up, followed rules, and accepted consequences. Detention, chalkboard duties, or the threat of the cane shaped behavior. Teachers commanded respect through authority, not negotiation. Classrooms smelled of books, polish, and damp coats. Fear existed, but so did clarity. Expectations were known and enforced equally. This mattered because boundaries felt solid. Boys understood limits and learned responsibility early. Fairness mattered more than comfort. While methods have changed, the memory remains strong. It formed resilience, respect for structure, and an understanding that actions carried weight beyond excuses. Parents usually supported teachers, reinforcing lessons at home, making school an extension of wider society rather than a separate, negotiable space. That unity shaped attitudes toward authority, effort, and consequences long into adulthood without confusion, resentment, or constant debate about rules later. Number 6. Family car journeys before seatbelts and screens. Family cars were smaller, slower, and filled with cigarette smoke and chatter. Boys squeezed into back seats without belts, staring out windows for hours. Long drives meant counting cars, playing word games, and fighting boredom. Radios played football scores and crackling music. Service stations felt like adventures. These journeys mattered because families talked. Silence was rare, and patience unavoidable. Travel taught endurance and observation. There were no screens to escape into. The road itself became memory. Today, those cramped rides feel strange, but they built tolerance, storytelling, and a shared sense of movement through time together. Maps were folded endlessly, tempers rose, and arrival felt earned, turning destinations into rewards rather than instant, forgettable stops along the way. Those journeys bonded families through shared discomfort, humor, and inevitable minor disagreements that later became stories retold fondly at family gatherings everywhere. Number 7. Playing outside all day without supervision. Playing outside until dark was normal, expected, and largely unsupervised. Boys vanished after breakfast and returned when streetlights flickered on. Parents trusted neighborhoods and neighbors. Days were spent climbing trees, building dens, and exploring fields. Scratches were badges, not emergencies. Time passed unnoticed. This freedom mattered because it built confidence. Boys learned risk, cooperation, and self-regulation naturally. They resolved disputes without adults. The outdoors was a classroom. Memories remain vivid because they were earned through experience. Modern childhood feels crowded by caution, but those evenings shaped independence in quiet, lasting ways. Whistles, shouting names, and clattering gates signaled curfews, marking the end of adventures and the return to supper tables and homework. That daily rhythm taught time, responsibility, and respect for home without constant reminders, while still preserving the joy of wandering freely across familiar streets, parks, and paths. Number 8. School dinners, dinner ladies, and shared meals. School dinners carried their own mythology, loved or feared by every boy. Metal trays clattered, gravy steamed, and pudding felt earned. Semolina, sponge cake, and custard divided opinions sharply. Dinner ladies enforced order with firm voices and kindness. Lunchtime was social currency. Trades were negotiated quickly. These meals mattered because they were communal. Everyone ate the same food together. Differences faded temporarily. The experience taught gratitude and adaptability. Even disliked dishes became shared jokes later. The memory of those halls remains strong, tied to noise, routine, and the strange comfort of sameness. Smells lingered on jumpers, bells ended meals abruptly, and afternoons continued with full stomachs and mixed emotions about what was served. Those routines anchored school days, making lunch a memorable pause between lessons shared by everyone regardless of background or ability in those crowded echoing halls daily together. Number 9. Pocket money and learning the value of coins. Pocket money arrived weekly and taught quiet lessons about value. Coins were counted carefully and spent slowly. Saving meant jars and patience. Choices mattered. Spending everything at once brought regret. This mattered because money felt real. Boys learned restraint, planning, and consequence early. There were no digital balances, only what fit in pockets. Lending was risky. Losing coins hurt. These small sums built financial awareness through experience. Today's systems feel abstract. Back then, every purchase carried weight and memory, shaping attitudes toward earning, saving, and fairness that lasted far beyond childhood. Parents rarely topped it up, forcing boys to wait, adapt, or go without, lessons far stronger than lectures ever could be. Those early decisions echoed later, influencing habits, priorities, and respect for effort earned through work, chores, and responsibility in everyday family life, week after week, quietly shaping character. Number 10. Figuring life out without constant adult guidance. Growing up without constant adult explanation encouraged boys to observe and figure things out. Instructions were brief. Mistakes were allowed. Curiosity led learning. Boys watched older siblings, neighbors, and peers closely. Knowledge spread through imitation. This mattered because independence grew naturally. Confidence came from doing, not being told. Questions were answered, but discovery was valued. That environment fostered resilience and humility. Today's guidance is detailed and constant. The memory of figuring things out alone remains powerful, reminding men of a time when trust was implicit and growth was personal. Adults intervened only when necessary, creating space for trial, error, and quiet pride earned through persistence rather than praise. Those lessons carried forward, shaping problem-solving, patience, and self-belief throughout adulthood long after childhood streets and classrooms faded from daily life. memories remaining strong and influential today, still quietly guiding. Looking back, the 1970s shaped British boys through freedom earned, lessons learned the hard way, and a sense of belonging that came from shared streets and shared rules. Life was simpler, but it demanded more from you. Community wasn't a word, it was daily life. These memories still matter because they built resilience, humor, and quiet confidence. This is what Britain Rewind exists to preserve. If these moments felt familiar, leave your memory in the comments and add to the record. Subscribe to Britain Rewind to keep Britain's untold childhood stories alive, remembered, and respected.